Welcome to the Golden Feminine podcast. This is a sacred space dedicated to expand wisdom around feminine energetics, multipotentiality, embodied leadership, love, empowerment, and sexuality. I'm your host, Inês Roque-Duval. Welcome to this episode. And here we are going to talk about how sex can heal and uplift your energy. One of the questions that I most receive is about what's the difference between sacred sexuality and casual sexuality. And I like to say that what really makes sacred your sexual experience, it's the way that makes you feel fulfilled, that makes you feel loved, that makes you feel nurtured, that makes you sense and feel, simply feel, not just at the physical level, but at the emotional level, that there is a deep connection with the person that is in front of you, that you feel presence, that you feel fully seen. And as women, we feel safe. And sex can actually be a very, very sacred act. And can be a form of expansion, healing, and awakening. And we know through especially the path of Tantra, which embraces sexuality also, how can we explore in multiple ways our sexual energy to actually uplift our energy, to actually connect the hearts of two people, to make it more intimate, to actually awaken parts of you that you didn't even know that exist. And this episode I want to bring you a topic which is the traumas and the wounds. That I love to talk in the themes of sexual energetics, because all our traumas and our wounds are also stored in our primal vital force energy, our sexual energy. And when we move energy, we can actually move also the traumas and the wounds that are stored in parts of our bodies. So explore how to move this energy within us can actually lead to an extreme path of healing and expansion, and also learning how to release these energies. When I started this path, the path that I teach about also sacred sexuality, I had no idea about how expansive it could be. Because when you think about these themes, you think, okay, I'm going to this path because I have some issue. And no, at the time, at my perspective, I didn't need any help around sexuality or expanding it more. But I had the call to actually understand what was this about. How can I improve, not from a place that I need to be fixed, but from a place, how can it become better? How can I experience more in my life? Can it make me feel more fulfilled? That was the calling that I had. And I had no idea how much it could expand. Because sexuality is not about what makes good sex or bad sex. It has nothing to do with performance, with mechanical acts. Has everything to do with in a way that you relate with the person in front of you, and how intimate you are, not at a physical level, but at a heart level. Remembering that the woman's pole, positive pole, is the heart. So the moment that our hearts are not nurtured, the moment that we are not penetrated by the heart first, is just our yonis don't open. And as much as I work in this field, and also from personal experience, I have never met a woman that told me I had a great sex in this one night stand random guy that I didn't even know, and there was no connection emotionally. It was just sex. I have never heard a story where women say this was next level sex. Never. Or when you are in a relationship or in a marriage that you didn't chose from the heart fully, but there were another societal conditionings around, and conditionings about what your mind wants, what your ego wants. Most likely, when you are in a relationship that fulfills those needs from the ego but not the needs from the heart, sexuality tends to be very unfulfilled. And sometimes you can meet a person and you can connect immediately, and you can have a very, very deep connection. And when that happens, it's because there is connection from the heart, always. Sometimes it's not a matter of time, but it's a matter of how much your heart is open and the other person to actually give and receive. So, sex is not about tools, is not about vibrators, is completely opposite of how people see pornography. It's totally opposite, and you don't need any manual or instructions. The only thing that we need is actually to open your heart, is to actually feel emotions. And this has nothing to do when you are in a monogamous relationship or polyamorous relationships, or maybe you can just see a person and you know that it's not going to be a long-term relationship for several conditions, and conditions that you cannot change. For example, wanting to have children or not, or wanting like the same desires, same wants, same perspectives of life. But you can still, even in those conditions, have a connection that has love, emotions, and feelings. You can have a very, very, very deep connection, even if you don't have the marriage or official relationship status. And this is something I really had to learn also in my path, because I have had monogamous, very serious relationships where sometimes this great chemistry was lacking, or that attraction was lacking, because there was so much conflict, or there was not proximity, closeness, devotion from the heart. And we know many marriages that have terrible intimacy, and that's because they are not connecting from the place that matters. And I have experienced myself connections where I know that are not possible, that are impossible literally long term, for several conditions, for completely different perspectives. But there is this incredible chemistry, there is incredible presence, there is love flowing, no matter if the mind is trying to say no. There is a heart connection that comes from maybe so many lifetimes. Maybe it's a very old connection, and that makes intimacy two people wanting to explore at that level and devoting their bodies to that level of exploration, and allowing their minds sometimes to drop. You can experience next level intimacy. And when sacred sexuality is experienced with consciousness, with self-awareness, facilitating your heart's needs, it actually increases your personal growth. And this is because you are allowing yourself to explore human potential, to explore what actually is to be a human, what actually is to connect with the other person in front of you. So, and here I say, how can I open my intimacy through the heart, and how can I bring this role of love to actually make it better? And here comes what people are most afraid of, which is pain. People control their experiences and their intimacy because they're afraid to feel pain. They're afraid to be seen in their vulnerability. Because when we are vulnerable, we actually show our shadows. And we always think that if we are just love and light and success and our strength, that's how we think that we are strong, and how we think that people will perceive us as strong. And that is one of the biggest limitations on how people are blocking this intimacy between each other, because they are not allowing also to be seen in their shadows, in their weakness, in their fears. And last weekend, and I was actually facilitating a session for a couple, and that was a pretty incredible experience for me, because I have been with a client for a long time. Some of my women clients, most of them come to me because of themes of love and relationship, and open the heart more and open their feminine energy more. And when we work long term and we understand also what the other partner is going through, and we understand that most of the time that they're not experiencing sacred sexuality is because they are so much unhealed and unspoken issues to address. They're not allowing themselves to be seen in their fears, to be seen in their vulnerabilities, in their weaknesses, on what hurted them deeply, because they are afraid to hurt the others by saying what hurted ourselves. And that is actually what lacks intimacy. Because intimacy is the capacity of showing up in all that we are, with all our qualities, with all our fears, not being afraid just to be ourselves, just to be who we are, just to be where we are at, what we want, what's our future visions, and make it authentic. The real heart connection is authentic. Is not the one that comes with masks, is not the one that comes with mind concepts, but is the one that you are able to show up when you are crying, when you are also in your successes, just being all that you are. And that heals an incredible part of you, which is the desire of belong somewhere. The desire of just being accepted. When we show up the way that we are, most of the times, that is so magnetic that actually is that vulnerability and that intimacy that creates a bond between two people. Being something that we are not is creating that mask. That mask is what doesn't allow us to connect in a deeper level, that level that you most desire to. So the real sexual experience, sacred experience, happens when you connect with a person first at that level. When you are all that you are, the way you are. Show up even in the days that you suck, you feel like shit. Show up to the person that you love even when you feel like shit. And be seen. Because when you are loved and nourished and taken care in your worst days, that will make you understand and heal your traumas, your weaknesses, your fear of rejection. When you are able to feel actually loved, and that state is when you experience being truly loved and truly taken care. And if you show up and that setting that doesn't happen, it's also okay. Means that is not a possibility for intimacy with that person. And that is okay. You have yourself. And this is why this work is so important, to understand how to hold ourselves, how to hold our emotion, to also be able to show as we are on those times and create intimacy, but also create maturity and not create codependency, because relationships and deep bonding within other person can be actually very codependent. So being who we are and allowing ourselves to be nurtured, to be taken care, is incredible. And when you allow yourself to actually surrender at that level, you actually heal the feminine. Because the feminine is all about surrendering. It's all about how can you surrender to the moment? How can you let go? Even in sexuality, how can you be able to allow your body to surrendering to a man? How can you allow your body to be penetrated at all levels and allow energy to flow? Surrender, let go of your masks, let go of the blockages around your heart, let go of the mind expectations of how it should look like. Just closing your eyes, breathing, connecting with the heart of the person in front of you, looking to each other's eyes and just feel energy flow, not allowing to control. One of the biggest tips I give is not trying to control. Every time that you try to control or to try to be in a certain position because you heard that's how it works, you are already blocking the flow of energy. Because energy wants to move freely, wants to move without the mind interference. When you just allow your body to fully relax and breathe into the moment, sometimes even explore that slow sexuality, that slow movements, that deep looking into each other's eyes, that deep touch, that deep breathing, that deep sound. This is when the process starts by itself. That's how energy starts to move. And that's how you heal being in the feminine. And how you train your feminine to be more feminine. And remember that the feminine is energy. And the feminine helps you to balance the right polarity between a relationship, bringing the masculine into place, by you being in your feminine, right? Experienced at that level, this is when you take the quantum leap into your relationship, because there will be a moment that the energy is flowing in such a level so deep that the mind cannot control it. You are just feeling that you are surrendering to God. The person in front of you becomes God itself, and you allow like a sort of a cosmic energy coming from the divine, the universe, just being penetrated to you through your yoni, through your vagina. And I had this very, very potent experience, like several times, where I was in such a vortex of wounding, of feeling my traumas. I was in, especially when I'm in my menstruation, where all of your shadows come into the surface, where you feel this death sometimes in your womb, that you feel this void. You feel that something is like, you feel your stagnant energies, you feel like trauma, you feel the grief, you feel the sadness. And there are days that you just wake up in the middle of the night, especially when you are menstruating, that there is this void and loneliness inside of you. Even me, as an adult and working in this field for a couple years now, sometimes there are still these invitations on deeper levels, on my ancestral wounds, invite me to heal deeper trauma from my lineage. And sometimes I don't even know where it comes from. I'm like, my God, this is so deep. Where it comes from? My God. And one of the things that I was most afraid is, oh my God, I cannot be with the person I love in this state, because he will feel my energies. And especially when you are in spirituality and you work with energy field, you start to believe that when you are in these lower vibrations, when you are invited to go in your shadow, in your darkness, you have low energy, and you have this consciousness about energy. You are afraid that you will charge other person, and that you will pass into the other these feelings, or that person will feel uncomfortable around you. And happened to me that one of the most healing experiences that ever happened to me was actually showing up at that level. Look, I feel like this, and I have to hold myself in this. First of all, you have to have this consciousness about, you have to go in your deep process. You have to know how to hold this yourself without needing nobody else. But can happen that you can also allow yourself to be held if the other person offers to. You can have, I had the experience of having deeply full embodied integrated masculine presence that told me, I can hold you, I can be with you in that, come to me, I can hold space for you, without taking my shit into him, but just holding space and allowing myself to cry in other shoulder, to be held in my feminine, to be seen in my feminine. And that was one of the most healing experiences I ever had as a woman, is being seen in my vulnerability. But first, because I was not blaming the other for being in that state. And if the person was not capable to hold space for me, I was not blaming either, and I was not expecting either. Yet, it's okay to have a desire to feel held. And what happened was, I had one of the most amazing healing experiences in sexuality. Maybe one of my top 3 experiences in that moment. And I had no expectation. I didn't even want to feel intimate, because normally when you are in this, you don't want to feel intimate, especially when you are in your moon. You feel you are so vulnerable. And some of the women think that menstruation is dirty, and men are feeling like disgust by your blood. And that's also an initiation you can create, you can just make for him, and actually be vulnerable in that moment and be open. And when I was able to be penetrated in my menstruation, in that deep dark space that I was in, that vortex, and the other person being available to hold space for me and make love to me in that moment, give me that sense of love, penetrate me with a heart connection, and allowing me to cry, to scream while I was being penetrated with love, was one of the most healing experiences of my life. And I remember, and every time that I experienced this with a man, I just allow myself. Sometimes are those experiences that sometimes you don't even want to move. You just want this slow, like tender movements, tender touch, tender penetration and kisses that are so healing. You just surrender your body. You don't think of, oh no, I know I have to move, I have to also giving back. Sometimes just reframe that moment and imagining that you are actually being penetrated by God. But God is using a human to penetrate you. And we know through psychosexuality and that also a lineage, wisdom that comes from the Taoist lineage, that your yoni and genitals, the penis, have also points inside of you that hold trauma, hold wounds, hold energies, and hold points that actually are connected to sadness, to grief, to frustration. And then you allow your body to just like melt and be touched on those points. You breathe together in those points. You allow yourself to feel loved. You take out of your mind any negative belief of I cannot be held, I cannot be seen. But God, let God penetrate me. Like, please fuck me to God. Please, God, fuck me. And you allow yourself to surrender and to melt in that vision and see the person in front of you as God. And you will see how a cosmic healing frequency starts to be penetrated into your body. And all of a sudden, you will feel your energy field being cleansed. Because the energy that actually is being penetrated is the energy of love. And only love can actually heal you, can actually transmute. So this is why sex can be, and for me, I have had the most potent energy healing, emotional clearing experiences through sex, because I let love penetrated me. And when I was depleted in energy, I allowed this frequency to be penetrated through me. And all of a sudden, not also I was clearing, but I saw how the other person that was just devoting their bodies and their love and their attention, their presence, be fully charged by God. And if they were at 60% of their energy, they started to be duplicated, multiplied by like 100%. They were so full of energy. And I saw the person in front of me where I felt that, oh my God, they will absorb all this negativity maybe that I'm going through. And instead they were just being fulfilled by just this so much energy, and they were having the most like energetic experiences in their bodies. They were like their penis, his penis was so hard. He was feeling so much energy. He was like, oh my God, where this energy is coming from? Oh my God, I'm feeling charged. And even if your partner doesn't believe in energies and sexuality being healing, from that moment he starts to believe. Because the moment you devote your hearts, both of you like start to heal yourselves. One gets charged, the other gets charged. My body starts to feel completely cleared, and all negative beliefs and thoughts started to dissipate. And after that, such a potent healing experience happened. I was falling asleep. I fall asleep, and I was for 11-12 hours in a row, and I woke up fully reborn. All those negative thoughts and it just, they were gone. My womb got released, and the day before I was having this incredible pain in my yoni, like a sort of pimple, like not herpes, but the pimple, internal pimple inside my yoni. It was so like painful. I was not able to have sex. I remember like, oh my God, it's hurting so much. I don't want him to see me in that vulnerability, in that like my yoni is having that like redness, and all of a sudden, when we realized after all these kisses and caresses with no touch in my yoni, I was fully wet and open. And his penis was penetrating me like in once. In just, I couldn't believe how my yoni was open. And it was incredible. I was in so much pain because of this pimple that was inside of me. And I don't want it to be seen in this vulnerability. And all of a sudden, I was so wet, and my yoni was being so willingness to be fucked to God. And after these hours of sacred sexuality, this pimple was gone. It was just gone. It was not there anymore. I was like, what? And this is only possible when a person is actually fully there for you. When you allow yourself to be in your full feminine, in your full surrender. And the other person is able to actually to be fully there in his willingness to be fully there. And when there is this devotion from both, you are just charged by God. It's when sexuality takes another level and you experience energy. You don't even have explanation. You cannot even stop it. It's so sacred. And when energy moves, emotions move. Emotions just need to be moved. And that kind of sexuality, for me, can be most healing than any other trauma release practice I have ever experienced. Any shaking, that kind of intimacy, that kind of heart opening, that kind of allowing love to penetrate your wounds, penetrate your body, is the most healing and transforming experience that you can ever deliver. And no matter if the mind says, no, we are not compatible, no, this cannot be, or doesn't matter. If two people allow themselves, if you experience this with somebody, know that the heart connection is there deeply. And this is something you cannot ignore or take it out of from your life. This is what we heal and crave the most. Without this sacred sexuality and this multidimensional orgasmic experience we so much want, it's just not possible. And doesn't matter if you are in a hype, if you are in the best moment of your life, you are living success, or if you are living a very dark vortex of energy, like for some reason you have a down, doesn't matter in sexuality. What matters is if you allow love to flow, if you are present, if you surrender, if you're being in your feminine, if you can see the other lead as divine masculine, if you believe the other has a divine, has God, as a human that can be penetrated by God to heal you. If you believe in that, it doesn't matter where you are at, which if you are in your beauty days, if you are feeling sexy, sensual, if you are in your down, if you allow yourself to connect with the other and at that level of vulnerability, intimacy and love, sexuality can be amazing. Always. And this is the ultimate secret. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode. I hope you have enjoyed, and if so, let me know how it landed to you. For now, have a gorgeous, beautiful day, and I see you on the next one.